JJK Season 1's director Sang-Woo Park and his studio absolutely cooked with this adaptation of Monsters, which was a story included in Oda's one-shot manga before One Piece called Wanted. With the level of quality given, it really made me want to see other parts of this one-shot adapted by the same studio. I pray that that day eventually happens. As it is about Ryuma's life, you would know who he is if you watched Thriller Bark and One Piece. I kept thinking throughout this episode, Oda could make this into a full spin-off prequel series, and we could learn a lot more about Ryuma's life and his background aside from just him being from Wano. It's probably not gonna happen, but it would be absolutely amazing to have a story on that eventually. Now this one shot isn't completely about Ryuma, it's more so about this village and an incident from 7 years ago involving a dragon, and his girl Flare who's the sole survivor of that incident, and then we have Shirano who's the supposed hero, him being the one who saved Flare from the massacre of her village. Apparently one day a dragon suddenly came and scorched down the entire village, supposedly killing everyone. But to give context, it all goes back to this dragon horn that was stolen. It was held as a sacred treasure and heavily guarded. Nobody really knew much of its capabilities, they were just aware of it being disastrous. Now as you may probably assume, someone killed all the guards and stole the horn, which was then used to summon that dragon. Now going back to Shirano, after he saved Flare, he now had a larger renowned reputation as a legendary swordsman than he ever did before. But there's always a hidden side to someone which they could switch to within a flip of a coin, which I'll get back to in a bit. I haven't said much about Ryuma so far, but we need to talk about his encounter with this guy who screams sus and looks like if Caesar and Buggy the Clown had a child. So Ryuma bumps into that guy with his strange complex about people bumping into his scabbard, which he makes it seem like is the equivalent of a spit to the face. And he decides to start something with that guy. And this man, pretty sure they said his name was DR, put on a whole ass Broadway performance, attempting to lay the crime of Ryuma stabbing him as an excuse to sound a dragon horn and bring chaos to the town. What's crazy though is that the entire town blamed Ryuma for everything and ignored the even more random ass guy who literally had a dragon horn and called a dragon in the first place. Now the decade mystery is finally solved when Shirano reveals his true colors, him and DR turning out to be the perpetrators behind the dragon incident. Shirano was more of a piece of shit than anyone could have ever imagined. The dragon wasn't the one who killed those villagers. Shirano himself went out of his way to kill all of them. He also went the extra step of killing off Flare's parents. If you think about it, Shirano and DR are pretty much this era's incarnation of pirates. And speaking of era, I've seen many theories about when this could have taken place. Some say 400 years ago during the time of No Land, or 800 years ago during the Void Century, which I personally felt like the latter kind of makes more sense, considering there's no signs of the world government and how I said Shirano is a pirate without being a pirate. Then again, unless I'm tripping, we barely have any definitive clues to help us theorize conclusions on the current state of the world. We just know it's an era where dragons are feared. But Oda should definitely answer this in his SBS session sometime. Ryuma pulls up and kills Shirano, rightfully so, and I love the line, "It's not my town," when DR was trying to use that talk no jutsu. That was a straight bar and probably the best line throughout the episode. After offing those hooligans, the dragon finally shows up, and I gotta say, this man Ryuma is built different. He casually just avoids the flames and slices the dragon's head off like it was nothing. My man didn't even need to break a sweat. The animation during both fights was very clean, as expected from JJK Season 1's director. I love the impact frames, or should I say the impact animation. The sword movement was absolutely flawless, and that little blood splash frame when Ryuma cut down Shirano, absolute kino. I also really love the little callback segment to Thriller Bark in the end. I don't remember that exact scene happening if it wasn't a Thriller Bark arc or if this is like an original thing, but I love how it's implied this entire episode was Ryuma telling Zoro a tale from his past. And Ryuma giving Zoro his sword really gave me passing the torch to the next generation vibes. This overall little segment felt set up in a way where you can interpret hidden meanings to small interactions like these. But man, I really hope one day we could get a full series with Ryuma, like a full series about his past. Oda definitely needs to make it happen. Even if not an anime, at least a spin-off novel or manga.